So I'm in the rollback today. I'm headed out to go pick up a truck that I bought. I have been looking for a Ram 3500, and I was hoping to find a crew cab. I want it to be four-wheel drive, have a 6.7 Cummins in it, and a tradesman interior is what I was after. Anything around there, as long as it's got power windows, power locks, air, cruise control, I'm happy. Well, the thing is, I've been looking for one, and I was hoping to find one under 100,000 miles, which doesn't seem to be that hard, except for when you put in the budget amount that I want to spend. I don't want to spend over $20,000. I want to stay under 20, and that's not exactly easy for what I'm trying to find. So in order to get what I want, be under 100,000 miles and under $20,000, you have to make some sacrifices, and that's exactly what this truck is. It has everything I want, but it has a few things that need addressed. And I live in Northeast Ohio, so it's not a question of if you're going to have rust on your vehicles, it's just how bad. And this is no different. So I went and looked at this truck 3-4 days ago, and we've been negotiating back and forth for over 3 days, and we finally came to a number that both of us are willing to accept. And now I'm in the truck, and I'm going to go pick it up. Again, in order to get something under 100,000 miles in the budget that I've set, then I have to be willing to sacrifice something, or, you know, there has to be some underlying condition for the age and the miles and the number that makes it, you know, a doable deal. And that's exactly what it is. It's got some issues, and we'll have to take care of them. But all I was looking for was a tradesman interior or better, and that'll be fine. So I still have my 2011 Silver Dodge. It's in the shop. I just haven't taken the time to work on it yet. And I know this is going to sound awful, but right now it's easier for me to go buy another truck than it is to take the time to work on mine. Sound foolish, but it's just what it is. You know, this one needs some work too, but it's not. I have a lot of work I want to do to my Silver Dodge, so I don't want to rush through it. I want to be able to do everything that's on my list for that truck all at one time, because as you guys know with me, once it's out of the shop, it's very hard to get it back in the shop to finish something. So I want to be able to do that all at one time. So let's get up here. We're gonna get this truck. I'll get him paid, and we'll get her loaded up and get it home. So I'm here looking at this trailer, and in my last video I said that I wasn't going to buy any more crappy built, you know, economy trailers, and yet here I am looking at this one. This is a 30-foot Kaufman trailer. Kaufman's not a bad brand by any stretch of the imagination. They build a decent trailer, and this one's cheap, and it's 30 feet long, but it's a straight flat deck. There's no dovetail to it. It's just straight flat. So anything I want to load on as far as that runs and drives, I would have to you know, hook ramps on the back, which I'm okay with, or I could simply cut this and make it a dovetail. So here we are in the trailer resurrection business again, apparently. But I'm here looking at it because, well, I'm not looking at it now because I bought it, but I made a deal with the guy because he had a problem with the tire place. He had some tires moved around off one trailer to another, and they left the lug nuts loose. And yeah, lo and behold, they didn't get them tight. And since they didn't get them tight, the rims got messed up. It's got a toolbox up front and a 7-pin connector, which I may have to do something here. Looks like. Yeah. 2 5/16 coupler, 12 inches of adjustment. That makes this a 10-inch I-beam. You know, it's okay. And it's a little crusty as far as the paint's missing, but it's not rotted out anywhere. It's just kind of crusty. I guess that's not true. That light box is. But I thought for the money, it's worth the investment, and I'll just have a 14,000-pound equipment trailer. So this is a problem with it. So what I'm going to do today is I brought my jack and my tools, as I paid the man for the trailer, so now it's mine. And I'm going to take these wheels off and then take these hubs off, take the hubs home, and I'm going to get new studs for it if it's fine, if the hubs are okay, and get new studs, new lug nuts, and a couple new wheels, probably some tires. Yeah, the tires got more tread than it looks like. They're commercial grade tires, which is nice. So that's what the goal is today, is to get this apart. We'll see how it goes. You can see how long they ran that. The actual center of the wheel is worn away. That's how long it went loose without them knowing. So let's get these off. So I gotta go up just a little bit more. I brought some cribbing to put this on so it doesn't have to sit on a jack. Pretty bad. Alright, we got to on some cribbing now. The jack's out of here. So you can see how badly all them studs are worn. The good thing is it doesn't use this hub to center the wheel. They're a conical seat lug nuts, so the taper of the lug nuts is what centers the wheel. Now we can just get this all apart. It's not a cream puff of a trailer, but for the price, I'm not going to complain. It was just fine. I mean, these trailers right now are $9,000 plus. So, anyways, I guess it just gives me more stuff to work on and show you guys what I'm going to do. I got both them off, and since I don't know how long it's going to take me to get back, and we got rain coming, I'm going to go ahead and cover them up with some plastic bags, just so we don't get any rust on the spindle. Alright, well, I guess now we're ready to go. I got it all taped up, and took a picture of the backing plate so I can make sure I got the right brakes for it, because we'll probably end up redoing that. I think we'll sandblast and paint this as well. It's really not that bad. It just the paint just fell off of it. I mean, this is paint separation there, but there is some rust, but it's not bad. I mean, it's C-channel cross members, 16 on center. Is that what that? Yeah, 16 on center. Pretty decent. It'll do for what I want, that's for sure. I need a way to move my skid steer. And this being 30 feet, it'd be real easy for me to just cut that there and make a dovetail. And then being it's 30 feet, I could make it a 24-foot flat and then a 6-foot dovetail. So the slope can be real gradual, doesn't have to be real steep. I'd be happy with that. All right, let's get out of here. I just measured, it's actually 31 feet long and 102 inches wide. So I ain't upset about that either, that's okay. And that 31 foot is to right here. Actually, it's 31 foot 4 to here. So if you take this off, it's about 3. So, yeah, I'm all right with that. Well, now we're done with that. We're going to head back the other way and go pick up the Dodge that I bought. Yeah, I'm trying to do all this in one trip because I'll have to come back and get the trailer. I could have just taken the one hub off and moved it to the other side and just put, you know, the good wheel off the other side on the rear and just towed it home like that. But I just didn't want to do that. I just felt it was best just to fix it, because I got to come back out this way for something else I bought that's past here. So, you know, it'd be all right. Well, one thing led to another, and before I knew it, I ended up buying this gooseneck trailer too. So we got to go back and get it, but I got the truck all strapped down and we're headed home. But he made me a deal on the pair that made this truck a lot easier to absorb the cost, that's for sure. So let's head home. Well, we're home, no troubles at all, everything stayed tight. So here's one of the issues with this truck, is these running boards here just kind of left all the salt and snow just stay packed in there and just kind of rusted it. The other side's actually got a hole in the rocker that we'll have to deal with. But anyways, it's 2012 3500. It's an actual cabin chassis, so it's 60 inches from the back of the frame to the center of the wheel. It's what's called an incomplete chassis. It did not come with a bed on it, which is just fine with me. Latches broke here, scratched that up, but you know, small things. But it has an issue where it's in limp mode, and it's been at 3 shops to have it fixed and they couldn't figure it out. So that's how I got it for a reasonable deal. It's just the way it works. I mean, you have to sacrifice or compromise something to get what you want, and I'm okay with it. So let's get this thing down. It's got hole in the rocker right there I'll have to take care of. And I don't know about this door, if it can be repaired or if it just needs to be replaced. We'll have to see. A little bit of rust here. Get these stupid things off, see how bad it is behind them fenders. Those are probably on there just to keep the rocks down because these aggressive tires. But let's get it out. Let's get it down. ABS lights on. Left front wheel speed sensor circuit. You're not gonna believe this. Perhaps if the wire hadn't rubbed up against the rotor, it'd be fine. I don't know who put that on. Clips broke. Put this stuff back where it belongs. This isn't a problem. So as you can see, it's gonna need some rockers put on, but you know, like I said, this is how it is. If you want to if you want to buy one of these with under 100,000 miles on it, you have to make some sacrifices and some compromises. I don't mind what it is. It's got a dent in the bumper, you know, the rockers. There's a dent right there in the door. There's a dent here in the door. This is like a piece of equipment that's pretty sharp. It's not a bullet hole, it's something that got into it. But anyways, you know, the interior's typical, I guess, a tradesman level interior. It needs a seat fixed. I'll just look for a set of upgraded seats for it instead of paying to have seats that I don't care for repaired. I'll just look for somebody that's got, you know, full set of seats for this. It needs cleaned. It's got an electrical problem. You put this thing into gear and it just bangs so hard, and you put it in park and it bangs really hard. I've been working on it and I think I've got it narrowed down. There's still another problem. I've got the banging problem, I think, taken care of, but there's still another problem that I haven't worked through yet, and I'm waiting for a wiring schematic so I can see what the pinout is from what I'm testing, which I don't have yet. But you know, it's a decent truck for me, for what I want. I really like the aluminum flatbed. I like having these sides on it. They're not much, but whatever. Needs a repair here. It's cracked. Have to take care of that. Got us a gooseneck in here. Looks like it used to be a foldover, maybe? Yep, used to be a foldover. Somebody welded it solid. I like that better because I don't like fold over anything in a gooseneck. I got some lights in the back. Decent aluminum bed. Had a bunch of repairs here and there and cobbled up booger welds. You know, look at this. It's had all this. But, you know, it is what it is. It's a work truck, you know. This side of the body's got a few scratches here and there. No big deal. I'm looking for a work truck, that's what it is, but oh boy. It's got really good tires all the way around. It runs phenomenal. Rear tires aren't as deep in tread as the front, but it's acceptable. We got it into something here. Have to put a new latch on that toolbox. But again, I need a daily driver work truck, and that's what I was after. And you know, I'm willing to compromise a lot of these things for that truck because, again, it's only got 95,000 miles on it, and that's what I was after. So I'm going to work through some of the problems, do a little bit of maintenance on it. It's got a ABS light on for the left front wheel speed sensor, which I found the problem there. It was, looks like it was operator error, whoever did the repair, but I don't know what we'll do about rockers. Looks like I got some rust in the bottom of that fender too. I'm going to take them fender flares off, see what the body looks underneath it. If I end up liking the truck real well, then we'll probably do rockers, get the door repaired, and maybe paint part of it a different color. I don't know. We'll see. But that's it for now. Got me a work truck. Just got to work through a few. The only thing I have to work through is this one transmission code that it has. I've got one of the issues, I think, handled. The other one, like I said, I'm waiting on a pinout for the wiring diagram so that I can make sure that I have it done the way it should be before I say that I think it's fixed. But anyways, that's it. I gotta get back to work. Digging into this problem a little bit here, and what it is even though I've got the transmission problem cured, I think fixed, at least for the moment, where it goes into gear and it bangs. It doesn't matter, you go from park into drive, it bangs. You go from drive to park and it bangs. And that was in the range selector switch. But now what I'm after is every time you shut the key off, the TCM says that it's lost power, and it sets a fault code for it, and then it sets a fault code for the transmission, which puts it into a limp mode. So it starts off in a higher gear, and it limits your gears. You can't go all the way through, and then every time you delete the code while the key's on, it'll run just fine, and it'll start learning to shift again, it seems. But you turn the key off and you're right back to where you were. So what I've done is I've looked at and I know this is going to be very hard to see because it's very bright out today. This is a connector right here that we're dealing with. This is powers. This is to the transmission controller. So this is a C2 connector. It's the middle one, and it's like a tan color. And you'll see it's pins 1 through 7 on this one. Well, down here in the layout, you'll see 1 is sensor supply. We get down here. 3 is transmission control output, which seems odd, you know, control output, but it's actually power, and I'll show you that here on the diagram. This is the wiring diagram for it, and you can see you have fuse power on M28, which we checked the fuses already, and it's good. And then the 2 fused ignition sources are B26 off connector 2 on the back of the totally integrated power module fuse box. Comes to a connector here, and then it splits off here and goes to these 2. So it supplies 2 in that connector I'm working with, which is B3 and B4. So we have B3, B4 as switch power, and B7 as constant power. And then as far as grounds go, we'll have to get to the other page for that. There we go, right here. That'll be B8 and B17 in that same connector. So all the powers and grounds for that transmission control module are in one connector. So that is 8 and 17 black or ground. So we'll check that. So I've got my meter set up, and I always go to the battery. So my ground of my meter is coming out here to the battery, and then it comes in here, and we're set on voltage. And I'll go in the back of the connector and just run this tap, this what do you want to call this, back probe, and I'll go in the back and see what we got. And this is kind of going backwards because I'm already here, but this red wire right here, it's very difficult for me to do this one-handed. Anyways, when I put this in here, I'm only getting 3 volts. I'm getting my 12.5 volts on the other 2 that we showed, so we know we have good ignition voltage. I'm already kind of ahead of the game here as I just picked up the camera, but the 2 that are the ignition source do show 12.5 volts with key on like they're supposed to, and then, you know, obviously power is gone when the key's off. This red one right here, which is the number 7 terminal, I believe, that should be the battery constant power coming in. And on this one I can back probe it, and maybe I can, hard to do with the key on, and I only got 3.22 volts. So I still need to check the grounds, but it looks like we're going to have you know, a battery positive failure that's not giving it power all the time. So I get excited doing this stuff because I love tracking down wiring issues, and you know, I got an idea of where we're at. But anyways, let's just keep going. We got to check the grounds next. So this was voltage. All right, so next is going to be ground. So we will we'll put a load on that ground to make sure it can actually hold a load, even though it's just a memory problem where we don't have our constant power. But I still want to be thorough checking the grounds. So now I've got my red light on the positive of the battery, and I'm using that ground to run that light. So that's a 1156 1157 bulb in here. So I'm using the turn signal filament, so it requires a little bit more amperage. So now all I got to do is push this in, and looky there. So that's one ground that's good. So we know that that ground is enough to run that light, which is probably more than that module requires. So now we'll go to the other ground and test it as well. It's a little hard to do one-handed. Right there. Okay, so now we know both grounds are good. So what we do know, we have two good grounds, which is what we're supposed to have, and both grounds are able to carry a load enough to run this light. Now, I could do the same thing on the powers, the ignition powers coming in, to make sure they're not losing power. I could just take this and put it on the ground side of the battery, and then probe the ignition side of this, these two yellow wires with a red tracer, and then make sure those are able to carry a load. That would be the next step. And now, I've already done that, by the way, but so now we just need to find out what is the problem with our battery supply. Why do we only have 3 volts? Typically, if you've got 3 volts, we've got a dirty connection with corrosion, we've got something that's shorted somewhere. There's a lot of different ways to go about this, but what I'm going to do, because I do have this, I got this off of All Data. It's $20 for 30 days, and it's vehicle specific. So this is this vehicle specifically. So I was able to come in here, and it shows me here that there's this connector C111, and pins 5 and pin 8 are the 2 powers. So we're going to find this connector, find its location, because it goes through the firewall, so it's going to be out here somewhere between the TIPM and the firewall, in this area here where it's all tight, and all the wiring goes back in behind here. So I've had problems before with rodents in here, but I don't know if that's the case on this one. But anyways, we may have to take the battery out and, you know, do some other things, but that's where we're headed next. You can see how tight it is down in there, but we got to find that connector. So rather than try and find this connector here, obviously, that's in between this module and the TIPM. The TIPM is a totally integrated power module. It's a fuse box under the hood. We're going to go to this connector in the TIPM, which is, let's see, it's connector 2 and terminal 9, B9. So again, we'll go to the back here. Let's go into powertrain management, and then we'll bring up TIPM if we can. I think I found it. C2. See, C2 is blue in color, and this is our reference as to the numbers of which one's which. So we want B9. So it's going to be down here, second row, closest to the end, in the middle. I'm not excited about this because I have on many occasions had to replace TIPMs because I get corrosion up in them. But let's see what we can find. We'll get our meter set up, and we'll get it on ground and see what we can get for voltage if we back probe it. First thing we do is verify our meter. Got 12.5 volts. This isn't looking very good. I see corrosion right there. And this is B9 right there. Yeah, there you go. There's the problem. We've only got 3 volts coming out of the TIPM for that. 4.98 volts is what we got coming out of the TIPM, and it needs to be 12 volts. So next step before I condemn it is we'll take this connection apart and make sure that we can't just clean it like a dirty situation before we condemn a TIPM. But not surprising, you know, not surprising at all. And looky there, that is the terminal out of the TIPM. That's a terminal that's supposed to be right there, and it's corroded and broke off. Okay, so now what we can do is, to make sure our theory is correct, is we will back probe this. We'll put this back together because obviously we need to tip them, but we'll put this back together, we'll back probe and see if we can power that up if the trouble code goes away. If trouble code goes away, then we know that's the only, that's may likely be the only problem, that it needs a tip them. Again, this is a totally integrated power module, and here's all the fuses and relays, and it's a computer controlled module. And it's common for them to get, you know, have problems because they just get water and crap hung up in here. And, you know, I mean, I don't know why it's open like this. You'd think they'd do a better job of sealing it. This wouldn't be a problem, but I guess if they seal it, they wouldn't get a chance to sell you tip-ems all the time. So I want to confirm that that is the only problem, which, I mean, that's pretty smoking gun right there. But I'm going to take this connector apart. I'm going to pull that connector out, that pin right here, and I'm going to supply fused 15 amp power to it and drive the truck and see if indeed that takes care of the problem. And if it does, well, I'll be able to drive it, put some miles on it, make sure I fix the other problem, and then I'll have to order a tip them, because it's not a matter of if I can just bypass this, because if this has corrosion in it already, the likeness that other things are gonna, you know, show their ugly head is pretty high. So I just want to confirm my repair and be able to drive it and put some miles on it, see what else happens while I'm waiting on the new tip-em to come in. Now that we have this temporaried in, hopefully we've got a good enough connection on that pretty corroded terminal. I tried to run it in there and cleaned it up. Now we need to verify that we do have 12 volts at that connector now. So we'll get our meter set up again. DC volts. I need a back probe pin. So I'm back probed on that red wire now, which is our battery positive, and we've got 12.57 volts. So we have battery voltage now. So we restored battery voltage to that meter. That doesn't mean we're fixed. It just means that, you know, that was one of the trouble codes. So the other thing the thing was doing was banging going into gear. And I looked at this and I couldn't find anything wrong on the scanner. So I didn't see anything in the data that led me to believe there was a problem. So it must have been an intermittent thing that didn't set a code. So I started tracing the wires from this module down to the transmission and checking all the wires, because they have a range selector on here. It's kind of like your neutral safety, and it has several different switches, and those, well, they're sensors, I guess, or open and closed switches, and they make a, from what I understand, is they make open and closed configurations like a combination. So it takes like this one being off, this one being on, this one being on, or this one being off, this one being on, that one being on, that one being off. So there's several different combinations, and if anything reads outside of that, then the transmission goes into limp mode and does this really weird stuff, which is what I was thinking. Those looked okay, but I thought, since I would look at this, I was tracing wires, and I found down here, this is at the driver's kick panel right behind the wheel, and you can see what I see here. I saw this and I expected the worst. However, there was no wiring issues. Now I'm going to have to take care of these and get these, I'm going to get these bolts out, maybe just remove these mud flaps, or maybe put a bolt in here instead of a sharp screw and protect the wires. But this connector right here is the one that runs to the transmission controller, and you can see it's kind of clean now. You can see how muddy and dirty everything is here. I took that apart and there was some corrosion inside here. I didn't find any bad terminals, just some corrosion inside here. It was just caked in mud. So I cleaned it all up, and so far so good. Let's see. So now we'll take it for a drive, since we found the other issue, and see what it does. The first thing I want to do is clear coats. It didn't have any tipping codes at all, which I guess isn't uncommon considering it thought it was putting the output out. It just wasn't making it there. So, if all goes well, okay, all done. Now we're ready to drive. Now before, that code would set every time you turn the truck off. It would reset because it didn't have memory to hold it. The ABS light's going to stay on because we have obviously a hard fault. You know, it's shorted out, but that's okay. All right, I guess we don't need to see any of this right now. Let's just go take it for a drive. All right, so start it up again. I've got about 3 miles on it so far, and just want to start it up again. Make sure the check engine light doesn't come on because that's what it was doing. It's a code for the ABS, which is staying on. It shifts beautiful. I mean, I can't condemn the shift now. I mean, it really does pretty well. So here's the dilemma I have right now is I bought the guy's gooseneck trailer too, and I gotta go pick it up, but I think this is gonna sting a little bit if I come back with this truck and I hook up to his gooseneck, because he had it to multiple shops and they couldn't fix it, and one guy was adamant and told him, you need a transmission, that banging going into gear. He said, I fixed that several times. He's like, I've done probably 8 or 9 transmissions with that same problem, and he says, you need a transmission, and he just didn't want to spend the money. He didn't use it enough. Obviously it's a 12 with 95,000 miles on it, so I don't know, maybe I'll call him and tell him that I got it fixed and I'm coming to get his trailer, so it's not such a big shock, you know, when I show up with his truck to get the trailer, because that might sting a little bit. And I'm certainly not going to tell him I've only got about 2.5 hours, 2.5 hours, something like that in it. I don't think I'll tell him that either. But it runs and drives well. It's like the temperature's a little high. I got the AC on. It's pretty dusty under there. I'll probably take a blowgun and blow the radiator condenser out. It might be a little restricted because all the dust. It was used on a farm quite a bit. You gotta understand how dirty that can get. Obviously, you can see the truck's condition. But anyways, I don't think it'll be a big deal. I'm gonna put this in the wind column. I mean, I'm not gonna say we're fixed until we get the tip them and get it put in, but I gotta get it from the Dodge dealer if it's still available. If not, I'll have to find a used one. Hope I can find a used one. I think they say these are supposed to be flashed for the vehicle, but I don't know if that's true when you buy it new. Maybe we'll see. I'm not sure. Anyways, let's go pick up the trailer. I don't know if you can see that now or not, but the only code we have now is just for the anti-lock brakes. So my wife just gave it a quick wipe down, just enough to get like the dirt and mud out of it, so it's not as bad. And when I get back from getting this trailer, she's going to give it the deep cleaning. But as of right now, I'm looking for the upgraded seats. I don't really want vinyl if I can get away from it. I think my son found some somewhere, but we'll pull the whole interior out and let her clean it up. The door panels seem to be okay. I mean, for Dodge door panels, they are what they are. But a lot of times I just take these interiors apart, and then she's able to clean them really good. They're real dry and dusty, so a lot of this is kind of difficult to do. But sometimes I take the interiors out and it comes beautifully clean. But sometimes when it's dry like this right here, it just kind of streaks from all the crud that's underneath there and runs down. But rest assured, guaranteed, she'll get it cleaned up and it'll be just as nice as I need it to be. So as of right now, I'm looking for a front bumper, a grille, some seats, and Then I'll see about doing that body work maybe this winter. But I needed a work truck. Hey, I think it works. The tip of my call to dealer, it is available, of course. The list is $1,700 for it, 17 something. Our cost is a little bit lower than that, but anyways, you can get used ones too, but I just usually buy new. So anyways, that's the end of this one. Hope you guys enjoyed. Catch you on the next one.